Okay, picture this. It's 6 a.m. You roll over in the dark trying to silence your alarm clock. But your arm just won't move. And it's not because you're groggy or, slept on it weird. It's because your arm suddenly weighs exactly twice as much as it did when you went to sleep. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're mapping out a truly terrifying, hyper-focused scenario, the crushing burden of 24 hours of double gravity.
All right, let's dive right in. Before the chaos officially kicks off, we kind of need to set the ground rules for this thought experiment. Gravity isn't just some giant cosmic volume knob we can casually crank up to 11, right? It's a fundamental property of mass, literally written into the fabric of space-time by Einstein's equations. So, for gravity to double, Earth's mass would effectively need to double, or the gravitational constant itself would have to glitch out. But for this explainer, we actually aren't going to worry about the how. We're laser-focused entirely on the absolute nightmare of what happens next.
140 kilos. Look, if you're an average 70-kilogram person, the exact second gravity doubles, you'd feel an invisible, crushing weight slamming down on your joints, your spine, your chest. You'd effectively be carrying an extra 70 kilos, literally a whole other adult human, just to stand up. Actually, just climbing out of bed wouldn't be a morning chore anymore. It would be a monumental athletic feat.
Which brings us to the ultimate question driving this explainer. What actually happens to the world if gravity doubles for exactly 24 hours? We're putting a literal ticking clock on global survival. Every single object, your body, the buildings around you, the air above your head, now weighs twice as much. The 24-hour clock starts right now.
Section 1. The first hour of chaos.
Let's look at how this builds into a rapid, terrifying timeline. Minute 1. The change hits instantly. Bam! Zero warning. By minute 2, anything balanced precariously, like a coffee mug on the edge of a table or objects on overloaded shelves, just crashes down. Fun little side note though, toddlers with their incredibly low center of gravity might actually fare slightly better than adults for those first couple of minutes. But that whimsy ends fast. Minute 5 is absolutely brutal. Aircraft in flight rely on lift calculated against normal gravity. Double it, and that lift is entirely useless. Planes rapidly lose altitude, sinking heavily, even with engines at full throttle. By minute 10, birds are literally dropping from the sky like stones. And as we hit that 1 hour mark, older structures begin to violently crack. Support beams start snapping under loads they were never, ever engineered to hold.
Section 2. Hour 6. The human toll.
So as the massive structural destruction from that initial violent shock slows down, the bodily destruction becomes intensely personal. Now, what's really fascinating here is the historical precedent for this kind of bodily shock. When astronauts return from the microgravity of space back to Earth's normal 1G, their bodies struggle immensely. It feels to them like a crushing weight because their hearts have grown lazy in space and suddenly have to work way harder to pump blood upward. Now, imagine humanity forced from our normal 1G to a relentless 2G. We aren't returning to normal. We're entering a totally extreme environment our evolution never prepared us for. Our bodies are built for 1G, period.
By hour 6, the visceral impact of that shift is just devastating. Hospitals are completely overwhelmed. Millions of people with pre-existing heart conditions are thrown into an immediate life-threatening crisis. Why? Because your heart is a muscle and suddenly it's working double overtime just to keep beating. A minor trip or fall? It's now a catastrophic emergency, because every impact hits with twice the kinetic force. It shatters bone. Even the simplest tasks cause total exhaustion, and this immense, relentless burden falls incredibly hard on the elderly and the vulnerable.
Section 3. Hour 12. Infrastructure under siege.
So, the crucial takeaway here is that our entire built environment operates on the invisible assumption that gravity is constant. Sure, engineers build generous safety margins into everything, but those margins completely evaporate in real time when the foundational rules of physics change overnight. Elevators strain and are forced offline, the cables stretching way beyond their load limits. Outside, heavy power lines just snap under their own newly doubled weight, plunging whole cities into total darkness. But honestly, the most terrifying point? The dams. They are holding back millions of tons of water that suddenly weighs twice as much. Engineers worldwide would be staring at structural readouts they've never seen, watching concrete face completely untested, apocalyptic water pressures.
Section 4. The oceans and atmosphere.
Now, gravity's grip extends way beyond the solid ground and the things we build on it. The invisible, massive systems that envelop our planet are fundamentally altered too. And this brilliantly illustrates how double gravity crushes us from above and below simultaneously. Deep in the ocean, submarines that were operating totally safely are suddenly crushed like tin cans as the water pressure above them doubles instantly. Up on the surface, the waves become shorter, sharper, and so much more violent because the energy required to literally lift water has doubled. Meanwhile, look up. The atmosphere itself is being pulled forcefully downward. The air becomes incredibly dense at the surface, making every single breath feel heavier, physically pressing into your lungs. And at the exact same time, higher altitudes quickly lose their air, as the whole atmosphere compresses tightly against the Earth's surface.
Section 5, Hour 24, the devastating aftermath.
So the 24-hour clock finally stops, and just as suddenly as it began, gravity resets to our normal 1G. The sun rises on a world that's fundamentally, permanently altered. But here is the really harsh truth of the morning after. The damage does not reset. Returning to the normal rules of physics doesn't just uncollapse a concrete bridge. It doesn't magically patch a cracked dam. It doesn't restart a heart that gave out under the immense pressure, and it certainly doesn't pull those downed airplanes back into the sky. The world operated under completely alien rules for just one day, but the world doesn't simply return to normal just because the rules did.
Which leaves us with this final, haunting thought. Change that balance, and it breaks. Gravity isn't just some boring background feature of our lives. It's the silent, invisible foundation beneath every single choice we make, every massive structure we build, and literally every breath we take. Our bones, our cities, our oceans, they all exist in a fragile, perfect balance tuned exactly to the gravity we've always known. So, the next time you casually walk up a flight of stairs or watch a bird effortlessly take flight, ask yourself, how much do you take for granted the invisible force holding your entire world together? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning and keep looking at the world with fresh eyes.